Last week, we were blessed with a blockbuster deal surrounding a superstar NBA player and an All-NBA caliber player, but in that deal, the market shifted slightly and will open up new trade possibilities for other teams with superstar players. So in this week's episode of In Case You Missed It, we will break down some other players that could possibly be traded soon, as well as discuss other news from the week. Trae Young, Brandon Ingram, and Zach LaVine are three players that have been in trade rumors all offseason and even midway through the 2024 season. With Cat being traded, the market for star players has now grown, and these three players may actually find themselves in a trade. Zach LaVine's name is interesting because he really does not have much of a market, but with Julius Randle being moved, a player who seemingly had no interest, makes for the likelihood of a LaVine trade increasingly likely. But last week's trade isn't the only reason LaVine's trade value is increasing. There is new information being thrown into the media saying how LaVine is going to embrace a veteran role for the young Bulls team and is accepting a lesser role despite the kind of player he can be. With this information, many teams are going to have more interest in trading for LaVine because that could make all the difference in a contender's view on him, as the narrative is that he cannot complement teams, nor can he play a role outside of the lead scorer. The contract is still a big limitation in any deal, but desperate teams are without a doubt willing to compromise with the contract. With interest and desperation both increasing, teams to look out for on the Zach LaVine market are as follows: the Warriors, Lakers, Heat, and even the Orlando Magic. All four of those teams need perimeter shot making and failed miserably to address that this offseason, no matter how much they believe they did. So even if there is no LaVine trade before the season starts, one of these four teams may jump the gun within the first month of play, and if they struggle as bad as they possibly could given what we see on paper, it will make that trade all the more likely. The next player we must discuss is Trey Young, as he may be on his way out of Atlanta soon. It is a common belief around the league that if the market for superstars was set high to the extent it was in prior years, Trey Young would have already been dealt. Unfortunately for the Hawks, the market was not set in such a way that would give them a generous return for Young, so the Hawks were forced to hold on to him. Looking at how the Cat trade went down, the market is clearly set in such a way that any star-level player that is traded would command a package of at least two quality players and a pick. Obviously, the Hawks are in a very different situation than the Timberwolves, so they would prefer to get young assets, or at the very least, players they can flip for assets. So we would translate a package the Hawks would get for Trae Young into being one or two young players, depending on their potential, and anywhere between 2 to 4 draft picks. Compensation certainly depends on different factors, so don't read too much into that. That is just a basic blueprint for any potential deal. Looking at the teams that can produce this package that would also be in the market for Young, it is without a doubt limited. Trae Young's ability to run a team with his playmaking ability and scoring talent is unique and desirable, though, and there is clearly one team in the league that needs that type of skill set on their team, and it is the Orlando Magic. The one thing I do need to mention with the Magic is that they will be a team that looks extremely good in the regular season, so there is a small chance they make a trade out of desperation early in the season. They have the assets to make a deal, though, and that is really the only team that you could really see a fit with, but there is a team that has been rumored all offseason to be in talks over just about every available star, and that team just so happens to be the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz have been linked to many, as I said, and it all centers around the fact they believe they need one more star-level player to compete in the West. I certainly do not believe that to be the case at all, but there have been signs of the Jazz team taking a step towards being competitive the past 2 seasons. At a certain point, the Jazz will need to do something to push themselves out of mediocrity. And with the assets they have to go out and get Trae Young, I actually believe this is possible. Trae Young might not like it. This is a business first, though, as many teams have made clear. I truly believe there's a less than 10% chance Trae Young is moved this year or within the next year, but if the Atlanta Hawks are willing to take a lesser package in exchange for Trae Young, we could see it happen. But I think they know the type of star talent they have, and they'd be dumb to do that. So I'm going to say they hold on to Trae Young for a while. The most likely player of the three to be traded this early in the season, or even now before the season starts, is disgruntled star Brandon Ingram. It is no secret that Ingram has had his issues with the Pelicans organization, whether it be upper management or with Coach Willie Green. He views himself as a player that is deserving of a $50 million contract that he is up for, but the Pelicans do not. I personally would not give him that size of a contract either. Ingram believes he is deserving of it though, and that is driving a wedge between him and the Pelicans. Then adding the drama with Willie Green that surfaced due to him coming back from injury and not being himself, it is evident that Ingram does not want to be in New Orleans any longer. If he did not desire the massive contract he is commanding, many teams would have jumped all over him, and some teams still do want him, they just simply can't afford him. At some point, something is going to give, and ultimately, it is likely that one team will cave and give him the contract desired, along with trading for him. As is a common theme with all three players we have mentioned, the move will come out of desperation from competitive teams. There is no doubt that Ingram will be the easiest player to land via trade because of the intangibles he offers, as well as the current contract he is on without the looming extension. The real reason Ingram will be traded, though, is because the Pelicans are desperate themselves, and they are emphatic on getting a true starting center. Teams that can offer that and seek the talents of Ingram are as follows: the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Houston Rockets in a sense, the Utah Jazz, and maybe the Portland Trail Blazers. Jared Allen, Steven Adams, Walker Kessler, and DeAndre Ayton. All four of those guys would fill the massive hole the Pelicans have at the center position while welcoming Brandon Ingram to their teams with the ability to extend them to the deal he is seeking. Let me reiterate though, with many teams in survival mode, there is also the possibility that a 3-team deal is facilitated to move these players, so the teams are compensated with their needs. We will see how it plays out though. No, the 3-team deal probably will not involve the Bulls, Hawks, and Pelicans, if that's not clear. Now let's get to some news. In case you missed it, Victor Wembanyama gained 25 pounds of muscle this offseason, and photos showed that he had a Giannis-like transformation. So let's talk about it. Wemby is the most feared young player in the league. I don't think it is really a secret, as he is just something we have never seen before in terms of height combined with mobility and unique skill with the basketball. There were just two problems and concerns surrounding him: injury risk and strength. Flash forward to now, looking at these photos, strength is clearly not a concern anymore, and to see how quick he has built this muscle mass, it is clear that he is going to be a force if he wasn't already. This is scary for the league, and as much as I believe the hype around the 2025 Spurs team is greatly exaggerated, I still believe that they will be a dangerous regular season team that will cause a ton of havoc, and if we keep seeing this level of progression from Wemby, the Spurs are going to dominate the league sooner than expected. Early in the offseason, the Houston Rockets said they were not going to extend neither Alperen Sengun nor Jalen Green. Obviously, it was frustrating to hear that they wouldn't be extending one of the two, but now there is a legitimate chance that Alperen Sengun gets a max extension by the October 21st deadline. All I can say is it better happen, because Sengun had an amazing 2024 season, and he is only going to improve as he is headed into only year 4, and there is still another level he can reach. When comparing him to other players in his draft class that got extensions this offseason, such as Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, and Franz Wagner, I can pretty confidently say he is top 2 in that group of 5 and could make a case to be number 1. So him not getting an extension is pretty dumb in my eyes. Get it done, Houston. We have so many injury updates this week, and it's heartbreaking, but here's your weekly injury update. The Portland Trail Blazers got brutal news on back-to-back days, as Robert Williams is already hurt. The injury isn't another knee injury for him, but it is a hamstring strain, which is still difficult to deal with. The next day, we got an even worse update, as it was reported that Shaedon Sharpe will be out for 4 to 6 weeks due to a small tear in his left shoulder. Pelicans guard and/or forward Trey Murphy will be out for at least 3 weeks with a right hamstring strain, and Luka Doncic is going to miss at least 1 week with a calf contusion. And last year, he dealt with a calf issue as well before the season, so it is something to keep an eye out for, although it isn't considered to be serious. And with that, we conclude another weekly recap called In Case You Missed It that drops every Monday at 3 on this channel. On Friday, I ranked every trade of 2024, and let's see which one was the best and which one was the worst. That video's on the screen. Y'all stay safe, have a good one, bye.